We speak. Our words. We listen.
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 Hello, and thank you for joining the show sponsored by coldpack.co.uk. Harry's Spectrum Voices, here every week. And I'm taking it over, Harry, as you can hear, putting my own spin on what you're doing. We're looking now at the first post. It's a beautiful post that I can see up there on the screen of an enormous Christmas tree with something to celebrate, I'm hoping. It's from the Autistic Poet. I love churches. I love exploring old buildings which are dark, quiet, and full of history. Sitting in a church full of people, singing and inhaling wafts of incense is completely different. Today I had a Christmas service for my school, as well as an unexpected singing, dancing assembly, which sent me into a panic at 9 a.m. in the morning. A great start to the day. Christmas is always a difficult time of year. There are flashing lights everywhere, including my neighbour's house, Christmas songs on repeat, and there is an expectation to join in with social events at work and at home, many of which are spontaneous and come with no warning. Breaking up for Christmas can be a challenge for autistic children and autistic teachers themselves. The sudden change to the routine and knowing that busy days are coming can be daunting. Christmas shopping is hard. More people in the shops and a pressure to buy gifts by a certain time. Fewer places to park, extra traffic, all these things contribute to more anxiety. Christmas time always feels different, and while I know I sound just like a Grinch, I am always happy to get back to normal on January the 1st. Like every year, it's taken me 3 days to get used to the Christmas tree in our living room. I don't know why. I guess it's all part of the condition of my autism. With a big smiley face, winking and laughing.
I'm picking up on the phrase there, expectation to join in with social events at work and at home, many of which are spontaneous and come with no warning. My first kind of reaction to that is, I quite like spontaneous. I prefer it to organised. You know, if someone tells me something's happening next week, I just go crazy, you know. Whereas like if they just say, here, now, let's do this, I either say yes or no. But no involved panic, long-lasting preparation. But maybe what they mean is the spontaneous thing is like, can you come up later, which then would put you into a panic? Or do you want to go there tomorrow or even next week? But yeah, they've described it quite well, the tensions of the time.
It seems to me that there's both things in here. There's a recognition that it is exciting and it is, you know, something's being done, something's being prepared for, at the same time as the pressure of those things. Christmas is something either you can make your own accommodations for and miss out on the things you don't really enjoy and take your own version of Christmas with you. I don't like being pressurised into anything, and I think the same that Robbie was talking about earlier in the 444 about if somebody tries to push you into forced things, and I'm thinking now about forced fun and forced partiness and forced jollity, I shrink away from that pretty quickly. But if I'm allowed to have my own space around Christmas, I can really enjoy Christmas. I can take little bits from it, I can hide from other bits of it, and I can use it that way. It's all down to the control you have over your own life, really, isn't it?
This is reminding me of some things that I've enjoyed in the past. For example, at this really awkward age, maybe say 12 years old, I really didn't fit in at all at school. It's a terrible age when you don't fit in. But if it was something like a secret Santa where you just had to buy a gift, no one would know it was from you. I still have very fond memories of that, of people not knowing who it was from and thinking it was an excellent gift. And then I could remain silent and participate, sort of.
I'm thinking this aligns with my earlier thoughts on value and spending. You know, this idea of like, yeah, it's talking here about shopping, but wasn't that in particular, I was thinking about the value we get out of Christmas like what we're looking for from it, what it means to us, that kind of value. I don't think you can buy that, you know. You can experience it, yeah. Maybe it's availability, maybe it's just openings, maybe it's just the stuff that can only happen at this time of year. But I think it's more like, well, I was just listening to what Jules was saying about taking what you can or what you feel you need from the time. My value system's different. I don't really see much I can take from this time. You know, when I was a drinker, yeah, I could go out and socialise, no problem. But I was kind of, you know, drinking. I don't do that anymore. And so I'm not saying it's a great loss to me. I'm just saying in my heart, I wasn't really part of it. I was just playing along on another level. And I think maybe that's what you were hinting at there, Jules, is that you play it at your own level. You may just sit there and indulge in what's on offer. Yeah. But the craziness, you know, I can leave that to the crazy people.
I have had some really difficult experiences at Christmas. And I expect Christmas, because it's such a heightened time of year, to continue at different times, to be times where there are difficult, big emotions with different events happening. And I think that's okay. There's a certain chaos to people's emotions, their traumas, their memories, their nostalgia, the rush of commercialism in this, the different family pressures people are under, that whole madness of the whole thing that takes us over culturally as a big melting pot for people to get themselves sorted in and sorted through. I see it as a cultural thing, like a mad Winterfest, like the harvest is in, the days are cold, we've brewed our drugs and our beers and our things. We need a winter blowout. And I think we can invent it and frame it for ourselves. It doesn't have to be imposed.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. And that is how I ground myself in thinking that human beings have been doing this. It doesn't really have to do with any element of it that we don't enjoy. And I know my whole family knows this about me. My favorite part of it is because I don't think I would put up a tree, but I do for when everybody comes to visit. I put it up as late as possible because my favorite time to have those lights on the tree is after the season is over. And if I put it up late enough, it will last well into January, which is when you really need it, in my opinion.
I have a tree up right now. I don't remember putting up one the last couple of years. We used to have big trees in the big house. It used to be a big deal. One in the drawing room, one in the sitting room, one outside the front door that we grew until it got too big that we had to cut it down and use it for firewood. I will probably go to our woods and I will collect some holly with berries on it and some fir, and I'll bring that in and I will have that around the wood burning stove and the chimney, and it will make the place smell. There's bits of seasonality to it. There's bits of wrapping up for the winter. There's bits of bacchanalia to it. I feel it really, as soon as you start to see it as a pick and mix rather than as a bag of obligations, it can be a pleasurable thing for even the people who've had shitty times. You know, shitty times can be overcome partly by putting better memories on top of them.
I find it a struggle. I find it oppressive. I find it claustrophobic. Every year, things seem to be bad around Christmas. I pulled back and I resent being told I'm Scrooge. I resent being called humbug because I'm not stopping anyone else from doing what they want to do. I just don't want to be involved in it.
Yeah, and I love that, GR. I think your resentment at these horrible things that people are saying is warranted. You know, why should you follow their cultural traditions without insult? You should be allowed to do whatever you damn well like. And I'm sure you're not going around trying to make their life worse. It's not great for everybody. It really isn't. I'm putting an alternative which says that the way I've worked it out in my life is a whole cornucopia of some bloody awful times And I could tell you stories which would make you cry that are associated with Christmas, and other times that have been joyful. It's, for me, I've lived a different life of cornucopia. And what you're doing, I applaud. And please spend time with me between Christmas and New Year and hang out and moan and say, this isn't for you, backstage. I'd love it. I'd enjoy being with you.
I'll try and be there. I mean, I don't go anywhere. I bought some turkey fillets this week, and that is the only thing. I have a roast dinner at lunchtime, and that's the only thing that will change because it won't be my usual midweek. My cousin will probably turn up, and she brings me a hamper, and that usually has mince pies in there. That's it. I send 4 Christmas cards. I don't want to go to town I want to go to the cinema in town, but I don't particularly want to go at the moment because there's a Christmas market and it's lights, noise, crowds. But I'm hoping to sneak into town on the 30th and catch the new Avatar movie in the morning, and that's it.
Yeah, I applaud you. I think what you're doing is you've worked out these things that will treat yourself, and you're giving them to yourself. It reminds me very much of Hercule Poirot, the fictional detective, where at Christmas he's got this tiny little ½ kilo of Belgian chocolates that he's coveting to give himself this treat on his own at Christmas. And I think he keeps being diverted from it. But whatever floats your boat, it is Christmas. It's different to the time of year. You're having a different meal and you're giving yourself these treats and you're having to avoid other people.
If I'm Hercule Poirot, I guess that makes you Captain Hastings.
I have to, we do Christmas Eve, not Christmas Day. And I'm thinking this year of changing it somehow so that there's less of the feelings, the not pleasant ones. But anyway, there are small children. And so, and in most cases, I enjoy it. But on Christmas Day, my daughter and I just go to a movie. Hardly anybody is there. I don't know if your theater is open then, GR, but it's an interesting time to go into a movie because it won't be Christmas inside there.
Most of the things I enjoy doing stop for Christmas, which is what makes it difficult. And going out anywhere might only difficult, particularly as I'm in a village and it's a difficult journey into Cambridge.
The next post I want to look at is from Pete Wharmby Books. We know Pete Wharmby, well-known author, lots of things worth following to do with Pete. And the meme is, severe autism is a misleading term for learning or intellectual disabilities with co-occurring autism. Both learning disabilities and autism may require different supports and accommodations. So we're asking the general public to stop seeing those who have a label of autism who also have other labels that go with them that are other versions of disabilities that add together to make somebody who challenged in lots of ways by their experience of the outside world. And that term, severe autism, rather than an autistic person with other co-occurring conditions, is what we're being asked to look at. And then there's something else saying that both learning disabilities and autism require different supports. I'm autistic, but I don't have a really defined learning disability. I have differences in the way I learn, but I wouldn't be seen as a disabled person under that. But other people are. Other people are seen in other ways of looking at them, that there is another label. How do people feel about this? Does it matter, some of this stuff? Is it irritating?
Just in response to what you said there, have you not, since your diagnosis, reconsidered the idea of disability in your own personal sense? I have. The things that I thought were just part of me that I now realise are a form of disability. Maybe it's just rewording it and reframing it, but yeah, I just thought I would say that there.
Yeah, that's a really probing and personal question, Ray, and I'm answering it here on Autistic Radio Public. Yes, absolutely. To realise your own autism, having lived a life as an adult adapting yourself to the world around you and functioning within that way, and then being destabilized with a whole set of new thoughts around your own autism and what that means. Yes, destabilizing, absolutely. What do I now think of disability? I feel that disability is a compound experience. You can have a level of apparent disability, the loss of something, but still be able to have supports that almost eradicate that disability to all intents and purposes for your life. Spectacles I'm using now, I wouldn't have been able to see in previous generations if I wasn't using spectacles. But I don't feel disabled by my lack of sight. I don't feel disabled by my loss of hearing. I don't feel disabled by hurting more when I move as I grow older. For me, it's a judgment you make yourself at a whole group of things, and lots of things that would disable people that I experience don't disable me because of the position I'm in, because of the world around me, the things I have available to me. So yes, does disability mean something different to me? Yes, it does. I've had to think about it.
See, the one I think about is not being able to communicate effectively. Not even able to get a sentence out without editing it. That can go way back to maybe early things, physical things like, kind of a stammer or a speech impediment, which I had to get some therapy for when I was very young. That can affect your presence, your public performance, your presentation, the way things mean to you, how you express that meaning. So, yeah, when you're confronted with society and its structures and you cannot figure out how to connect with it and relate to it, I'm now beginning to think that's a disability.
A lot of my problems is, even if you say autism, people are already making assumptions about what you need. And giving these extra labels like severe, it does not help, because every autistic person's needs are different. If you've got an intellectual disability, your needs will be different. So it's unhelpful. But people will, if I say something autistic, they're already deciding what my needs are without actually speaking to someone who actually knows and who's actually lived it.
I was thinking earlier this week about something similar. It is that all for so many years of my life, people have actually thought that I had a disability, especially in my larger family, my cousins, aunts, uncles, and things. And it was because my father had a disability. And I think because I wasn't presenting the same way as everybody else, they were assuming it was something like what he had or something like that. And you could feel it. I could feel it my whole life. The interesting thing now is, though, that I have a name for it, whether I think of it as a disability or don't think of it as disability. I feel like it's sort of just the correct operating manual. But then the room is different than it used to be. People feel differently than they used to feel.
I was just rereading the first paragraph there about important to recognise it's severe autism. So when we think about severe autism, it's the thing that we felt maybe 30 years ago when things hadn't kind of opened up in our knowledge regarding word autism. It's often erroneously named. It's actually a co-occurrence of autism, which I think we all share to a certain extent, and some form of learning disability. So Pete is proposing here that what is seen as severe autism in general society is a conjunction of autism and learning disability. See what he's putting together here as a composite for that term that he's put in little quotation scare quotes.
I think the thing is that we're quite interested in autism, and most of the world couldn't give a fuck. And they want severe autism. It's easy. What's wrong with a person? Oh, he's autistic. How bad is it? Oh, it's severe. Okay, won't expect that much of this person, that I'll dismiss them. You know, that is the level at which most people give a fuck. Us discussing it, I suppose, has value because we're looking at our own thoughts. It's a way of getting a sense of these things.
It reminds me of one from a week or two ago where the post was about having both autism and ADHD. So this conversation's a bit like that. And I think it would need to include, if we were to think about it this way, more than just learning disabilities. So more profound sensory issues and different things. And I don't know, maybe it would be helpful in some instances. I think sometimes we should also talk about it because, it's a spectrum and we represent probably like a neighborhood in the spectrum.
Yep, you're right. We should always be talking about these things. And there's the thing that Pete's saying. Conflating learning disabilities with autism is often used to silence autistic voices too. Unfortunately, with claims of faking it, as we don't have the same lived experience as a person with learning disabilities as well as their autism. The whole thing is a bit of a mess, and I'm reluctant to post about it for fear of being misinterpreted, if I'm honest. So when Pete's been thinking about this, he's actually thinking, goodness me, this is a political football here. This is a hot potato. Some people are going to see my words, and if I'm even with the best will, that might not mean the same thing to them as his intention when he writes them down. I'm an autistic man, and I don't mind identifying the things that have disabled me in certain circumstances throughout my life. As Ray has illustrated, you look back and you see, if I hadn't been autistic, I would have had a better opportunity here, there, and everywhere. I frame it differently. I frame it as a social prejudice, almost as if I'm in the wrong class, or I'm the wrong colour, or the wrong type of person. The cut of my jib, being an autistic person, did not fit the social framework. So I view it less as the things that have disabled me, I view more as a prejudice against my identity rather than a disability of me.
I feel like if this was explored to its fullest, people would then learn a whole new need, so it's not the right reaction to say, if you don't have profound autism, you don't have autism. What he's saying is you have autism underneath other things that create issues for you. I feel like what might end up happening is that people who think profoundly autistic people are not worth their time or they can't communicate with them, they would end up learning that, yes, you could communicate with them. You just aren't communicating with them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, in response to that, Teresa put in text as if autism alone is not enough, to justify sympathy, empathy, care to a certain extent, because it's not like severe disability.
And it also is, and then it also isn't, because I can remember this time when I was in college that I did this volunteering where you took small children who had profound autism on a trampoline, and they were maybe closer to being babies or toddlers. And I could feel that something different was happening and that we were somehow actually communicating when we were doing that.
I'm going to add some text to this conversation. Autism is a label for a pre-existing disability. I feel that in my relationships. Another person, when I had a Care Act assessment, I was treated as if I had a learning disability. Another person, I'm just like you, but I'm different. Capitalism works by dividing and getting different groups to fight each other. So, that is a thing. This new idea of autism as an identity, as something that people live with and can be disability is a disability in certain circumstances and very variable. It's a new group of people. We are these late diagnosed group of people. We're the people who didn't know about it, and we're a bigger group of people than the previous people who knew about it. So there is a political change in that, and people need to hold on to the power that they have gained in their disability. That's normal, isn't it? Another person says that diagnosis focuses on the deficits and ignores any strengths. Another person points out, as if autism alone is not enough, very similar to what Ray was saying about, yes, actually, autism for some people on its own makes them feel as though, yeah, I'm just autistic, I'm not disabled. But for other people, actually, my autism is a disability to me. It is making things difficult for me, and you're not recognizing it because I look capable in other circumstances. A lot of people say similar things to that. Another person says that the disability is ableism of normality. So the disability is enforced upon us. It doesn't need to be there. It's created unnecessarily. We didn't lose a leg and find it difficult to get up steps. You put up steps when you knew we had lost a leg. People assume that if you're asked for help, you're asking to take it away from someone else. Okay, so it's about this competition of need thing that somebody's commenting on there. And I think having conversations between different autistic groups and facilitating that in any way through Autistic Radio is where we're at on this. We can't be at each other's throats. We can't allow them to make us into factions.
I'm thinking it's a lovely image Pete put up, given his anxiety, the latter part of his statement, about how he felt he would come over writing these thoughts out. But the image he's put up kind of succinct, checkerboard. Odd.
Well, thank you, everybody, for how you've contributed today to Harry's 555 Live here every Sunday, 5:55 UK time, around about 1 o'clock in Central North America. A reminder that we are sponsored here by coldpack.co.uk. Anything you spend at coldpack.co.uk is a direct contribution to the work here at Autistic Radio. Harry will be back with the 555 next week, and I'm going to go away and prepare the different ideas that we have for Autistic Radio days between Christmas and New Year. We've made a decision that we're going to have a space, a green room, a backstage area where anybody can join and talk with other autistic people. There'll be somebody there whilst we're broadcasting our podcast and other live events for the 27th, 28th, 29th and 30th of December. See you there. Cheers, everyone. Spectrum Voices Conversation is an Autistic Association production for autisticradio.com. If you have something to share with us, if you need a voice, you can make different kinds of programs with us. You can make a 10-minute short, or you can join us for a podcast to talk about a subject that is dear to your heart or something you think needs a wider audience. We have an open door policy for divergent views. We do not necessarily agree with everything that we share on our Facebook pages or the words expressed in our podcast. There are a lot of different divergent views which we are trying to allow get aired so that people can see things from different people's vantage points. We hope that you will join that conversation. Contact us through any of our links, Facebook, by email, directly to us.